Happy Thanksgiving, happy football weekend, and we now have college basketball, Brett, back. It is episode 96 of The Next Best Bet. I'm Jake Higgins with Brett Levy, as always. Going into hindsight with Higgins, we didn't have a lot to talk about in episode 95, so I went 0 for 2 on that Tampa Bay game. I really thought they were going to get that win on Monday night. They didn't. Now, Brett, you still have a few more bets out to play, though. What's going on with that?
We previewed the college basketball slate because we knew this was going to be a big football weekend, Higgins, and obviously it's going to be. But we previewed college basketball in the last episode. I gave out some conference winners: Arizona, Stanford, potentially long shots in the Pac-12. Michigan State and Illinois is potentially winners of the Big Ten, and I was with you. I was in the Tampa Bay boat on Monday Night Football, but the Rams look like the better team moving forward, to be honest.
Now, we are recording this on Wednesday night. Episode's coming out Thursday morning as everyone's going to be preparing for their NFL, so we'll get to that in a little bit here. But, Brett, Wednesday was the opening day of college basketball, so we're not going to really get to talk about some of the games this week on this weekend slate. I want to know, how are your early feelers on the four teams that you picked? Anyone play well?
You know what? Michigan State looked pretty good. Illinois looked pretty good. Arizona actually, I think, had their game postponed or canceled.
Yes, they
And
did.
Stanford has yet to play, but they'll play in here in the next few days. So we'll keep our eye on them. Arizona State, though, the favorite in the Pac-12, looked a little shaky against Rhode Island. So I would say my value plays in the Pac-12 definitely look alive.
Yes, they do, and we'll see how that looks as the weekend progresses. There's going to be a few more games, and we're going to give out our college basketball picks on our social media, so make sure to follow us there at NBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel, where we'll be posting other content as well. Our Beginner's Boulevard of the week is the term the middle. It's a sports bet where you're playing different sides of the same game or the same spread, so you're kind of picking a window of where things are going to settle down at the end.
Yeah, a lot of times you could win one bet without the other also, but there's a little window in there where you hit this nice middle and you win both bets. Now that's the dream, Higgins.
Yes, it's kind of close to hedging, but you get to cover a little beyond just completely hitting both bets. You also have coverage on the outsides where one bet would just hit. So hedging's one or the other typically. This has a little bit of an overlap. So a little bit interesting. I said we were going to get into our NFL bets for Thanksgiving, and we are. There's a Thanksgiving college football game going on. Are you interested in this New Mexico versus Utah State game, Brett? I am not at all. It is a game between two winless duds, in my opinion. And although the NFL games aren't really going to be super entertaining, I don't think that one is either.
There will be some college football or basketball, excuse me. So you will have a few options, but I got to be honest with you, Higgins. I think a lot of people are going to be watching this game. New Mexico's a slight favorite at -6.5. I will probably find myself on Utah State at home with the altitude advantage. So I'm not there yet. I do have other bets going on Thursday. So I'll see how I do in the NFL before I place my Utah State bet.
Now, there was supposed to be another game on Thursday in college football as well between Colorado State and Air Force. That game got canceled. However, because of it being the typical Thanksgiving break and everything like that, we have more games on Friday as well. 11 NCAA football games. And a few of these are rather contentious rivalries. Now, you have the game like Oregon versus Oregon State, what used to be called the Civil War game. They now took that away. However, I still love the trophy they play for, the platypus. You take a beaver, you take a duck, you throw them together. What do you get? You get a platypus. There you
That
go.
is that is awesome. That's a great trophy.
And then a little bit more east, a little bit closer to you than where I'm at, Brett. Nebraska versus Iowa. Now, this is a bit of a newer tradition since Nebraska has only recently come into the Big Ten, but they're neighboring states, and there's a lot of bad blood there. And I warned people last week about the Nebraska line being too heavy towards the Husker because Luke McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's younger brother, seemed to be the next big thing for the Huskers. I was worried that he beat a no-name in Penn State who's a dud this year, and that turned out to be right. Illinois ended up beating Nebraska by the amount that Nebraska was favored by. So what that tells me is Nebraska's issues are bigger than just Adrian Martinez being their quarterback. There's play calling, there's defense, there's other issues. So I am riding with Iowa, who has at least showed me they can win against more than one program. Minus 13.5 should be very interesting. This game's going to be in Iowa on Friday, and it gets cold, it gets windy. It says it's going to be 47 degrees, but you never know when you get out in that Midwest what that wind can do to you.
Yeah, I mean, I like Iowa too. I'm not ready to bet against Luke McCaffrey. 13 and a half leaves plenty of room for a backdoor cover, as you're well aware. But
Yes, it
I'm
does.
with you. I'm leaning that way. So I'm staying off of it because I saw you were on it for sure. So that's
Well,
a
thank you.
sign. That's a sign. Hey, let Higgins have that one. It's his Thanksgiving weekend too. He needs a dub. Give him Iowa. He'll stay off Notre Dame, North Carolina for me. North
Before we get into
Carolina.
that game, real quick, one last point I wanted to make about Nebraska Iowa. They are mirror images of each other against the spread. Nebraska's 1-3, Iowa's 3-1-1.
There you go. That's. I mean, Iowa definitely seems likely there, and it's tough to play at Iowa, the pink locker room and all that. So
Yes, but I agree this Notre Dame North Carolina game should probably be the better game of that Friday. Will probably be the best college football game of that night, if we're being honest. Other than maybe a Iowa State Texas.
yeah, there's a lot of big rivalry games. Stanford Cal's a rivalry game too, and you
Yes.
mentioned Oregon State. So but Notre Dame, North Carolina in Chapel Hill, North Carolina 5.5 point dogs. I think this is Sam Howell's moment. So go out here, get a big win. Notre Dame, this is a classic letdown spot. You've played really well. You're just ranked 2 in the college football playoff rankings. Everyone feels great. Now you gotta go travel on the road against probably one of the better QB prospects in the country, not named Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. And it's just a tough game, Higgins. I think it's going to be closer than 5.5 points, to be honest, even if North Carolina doesn't win.
Yes, that should be a very interesting game. The college football playoff rankings were interesting. Kind of vanilla at the top four of what you expected. I'm still a big proponent of Cincinnati. I've said it again, but they're going to have a hard time now that the game against Temple this week got canceled for them, and they had done a really good job of being able to continue playing. So that's a little bit tough for them, but we'll see how that goes. Notre Dame absolutely needs a win, though, if you're making it to the college football playoffs, though. It's going to be for unranked, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think. I think Notre Dame, Clemson is what the ACC is dreaming of, and it's what the college football playoff committee set themselves up for.
Well, yes, and actually, you corrected me there. Clemson, they have one loss, so maybe not four undefeateds, but I still say if Cincinnati makes it all the way through that they deserve it over Clemson, but we'll see. On Saturday, there is another team that is going to try to be vying for their spot in that college football playoffs, and Florida has to do to Kentucky what Alabama did to Kentucky last week, and that's embarrassed them. Florida is 25.5 point favorites, and if they are going to win, they need to and win commandingly, they need to do what Bama did last week, and that was a 63-3 blowout. That's why Bama's at the top of the college football playoffs because they run up the score. They don't take their foot off the gas, and Florida needs to do that. You talked about Trask and the Heisman. I don't know if it's as shored up for him as it may seem to be with some of these sportsbooks odds that you see. Trask needs to go out there like he's still trying to get into this college football playoffs, which they're on the outside looking in right now. They can do it, but it needs to be with really, really big wins, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Florida, I guess, got it together late against Vanderbilt and were able to put up some points, but it was a struggle there for a while last week. So I'm with you, Higgins. They need to put on a good show and impress some people this week against Kentucky.
I think they're going to do it, though. I am going to take Florida minus 25.5, though. I mean, it's a big spread. It's not quite the full 4 touchdowns, though, which if it was closer to 28, I'd probably stay away. If it got close to 27, I'm probably out. But 25.5, I'll take that.
Yeah, and you actually mentioned Alabama keeping their foot on the gas. Real quick, Nick Saban tested positive for COVID, so he will miss.
Again.
Well, the first time actually was a false positive, I guess, because he had those 3 consecutive negative tests in 3 days
Hmm.
and was able to get back on the sidelines. And we all thought, wow, I guess he beat COVID in 3 days. But
But it's still a familiar storyline that we've heard. Yet again, hearing Nick Saban has tested positive for coronavirus. So concerning out of Tuscaloosa.
yeah, definitely concerning. And he'll miss the Iron Bowl. He has to self isolate for 10 days. So, we will see what happens there. But
Now, plenty
we're
of Americans have been Zoom calling into work. Is that something that Saban could do, you
a
think?
robot coach.
Yeah, a robot going up and down the line. And
Yeah.
so instead of the strength and conditioning coach that is in charge of pulling the coach back, there's just a guy running the wire.
I like it. Just the FaceTime robot. I like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, there should be one of those.
But I am on another game, not quite as notable on Saturday, but I am on another game, Coastal Carolina versus Texas State. Now, Coastal Carolina's ranked 20th, Brett. What do you know about this team, though, really? Because they've flown a little under the radar because they're not in a major conference.
I know they're the Chanticleers,
Yes,
and
they are, and good pronunciation of that, too.
I know they're in the Sun Belt. I know that their field is teal, and that's all I need to know.
Okay, well, here's something else that you should know. They're 8-0, and they haven't lost against the spread yet this year.
There you go, the
So
Chanticleers.
they are 17-point favorites against Texas State, who is 2-9 this season. I don't need to know much else. Coastal Carolina, you're going to cover. 17 points, give it to me. They're going to win by 3 full touchdowns. It's going to be a 21-point game.
Chanticleers. I'm just disappointed it won't be on the teal turf. But
I understand that, yeah. That would be cool to see. I'd enjoy that because if I'm going to tune in, I'd like to see the teal turf.
yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go back to the Big Ten though, a little bit bigger stage than Coastal Carolina. With all due respect, I'm going to the younger Tagovailoa, Talia
He's looked
Tagovailoa,
impressive.
and he has been really good. And Indiana suffered a tough loss last week. I don't think they'll be able to cover this 11 and a half, Higgins. I'm on Maryland here. I think Maryland keeps this at least within a touchdown. The way they've been playing, their offense looks really good. I'm not sure they'll be able to stop Indiana, but I can say it's the same about Indiana stopping Maryland.
Now, they did lose a tough one, but it was against Ohio State. Do you remember what that line was last week? It
No, it
was
was 21.
21.
Yeah, and
They've covered all 5 weeks.
Indiana looked bad for about 3 quarters, and in the fourth quarter they turned it on. And you know what? I think they fought really hard, but I think the magic may have run out. Now you know where the magic hasn't run out, Higgins? Evanston. Evanston, the Big Ten runs through Evanston. The
The
Fighting Reese
big,
Davises.
the fighting Reese Davises. I loved seeing that. That was great. Now, Tua's younger brother, Tua Tagovailoa, he's played in 3 games this season. So, interesting to see how much Maryland has actually improved since, because they've covered the last two games, and those are the two games that he started for. He also came in that Northwestern loss, but it'll be interesting. I like this Indiana team. I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana does cover, but this is a game that I had a hard time picking on. I had a hard time getting a feel for, so I stayed away.
All right. Well, I'm all in on Maryland here at 11.5. I like that line. There's some other good games on Saturday. Ohio State, Illinois, Penn State, Michigan, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Colorado, USC. My Northwestern Wildcats. I love Northwestern minus 13.5 at Michigan State. Not touching that one because I think a lot of people are going to be on Northwestern, and that kind of scares me off. But Pittsburgh, Clemson, also LSU, A&M. None of them really fancy me and my interest, Higgins. I think I'm good with just betting what I've bet so far.
I agree. I'd say the one game that stuck out to me was Penn State, Michigan. Not because I want to bet it, but because if you saw a line that it was a 2.5 point favor either way, you'd expect that that game had Big Ten complications and that this was a showdown between the two big programs having big years. And that's not necessarily the case this year at all.
No, they're definitely that's a close line because they're both at the bottom. That's a
Well,
good
we
point.
may end up finding our way onto some of those other games on Friday or Saturday. If we do, we'll have those posted on our social media. So, like I said earlier, follow us on Twitter at NBBPod, on Instagram at Next Best Bet, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. And we'll also have some college basketball picks there because, like I said, we're not going to be getting into those on this episode right here. The only college basketball we're going to talk about, though, Brett, is on our money line magic. It's been a short season, a day long, but already basketball has kicked football out of the slot from Moneyline Magic.
Well, it's well deserved. I mean, anytime you have a finish like the one we're about to talk about between Bradley and Toledo, that's got to be the moneyline magic, Higgins.
I completely agree. Now, this was a game that Toledo started off very strong, and they held the lead throughout the first half, and then slowly and surely, Bradley slowly clawed their way back in the second half. And with 12 minutes left, they were able to tie it up. And then it was a barn burner. There was, I believe, five lead changes, maybe at least three ties coming down the stretch as these two teams fought it out. And it just went back and forth until the final possession where Terry Nolan Jr. He goes up, misses a shot with 20 seconds on the clock, but gets his own rebound, throws it off of a Toledo player, and it goes out of bounds to set up another play for Bradley. Just fantastic high basketball IQ move there by Terry Nolan Jr.
Yeah, no, great play by him. And uh, obviously, without giving away too much, it's our moneyline magic. So you know it paid off, Higgins.
It absolutely did because Terry Nolan Jr., the man with the very same name that set up this opportunity by getting his own rebound, well, they called his number again on a driving layup with zero point 0.8 left on the clock. He drains it, and Bradley beats Toledo by 2 points, 61 to 59, in the closest of margins that we have had so far in college basketball on Wednesday night. However, there have been some bad beats as well. I mean, we saw a few programs score over 100 and only allow about 50.
Oh my God, Higgins! I don't know if you saw this one, but Samford
I
scored
saw
a
that one.
hundred at halftime. Oh my goodness!
Yes, I saw that. And someone tweeted, "Is this even possible?" And so someone tweeted out a screenshot of the South Carolina women's basketball team that won 117-3 a few years back and was like, it's possible.
I guess so.
But we got plenty more college basketball coming back through the weekend, and we'll have some picks for you on our social media. This episode is presented by Wild CBD. The Wild produces the best tasting edibles on the market using real fruit and all natural flavoring with flavors inspired by the Pacific Northwest, high quality ingredients, real fruit, and consistent dosing. Wild has become one of the leading cannabis edible producers in the country. Wild's new CBD line currently offers real fruit infused gummies in blackberry, huckleberry, lemon, and raspberry, and CBD infused sparkling water in raspberry, lemon, blackberry, and blood orange. Each gummy is dosed with 25 milligrams of CBD and can be purchased in a bottle of 10 or 20. Wild CBD is offering our listeners 30% off their next purchase from wildcbd.com by using the code POD. That's code POD for 30% off your next purchase.
Wild CBD products are intended only for use by individuals aged 18 and older. Wild CBD products should only be consumed as directed on the label and should not be used if you are pregnant or breastfeeding. All Wild CBD products are made with ingredients containing 0% THC. Consult with a health professional prior to using Wild CBD in combination with any medications or other dietary supplements.
Well, there you have it. Some Wild CBD products sponsoring the next best bet. Now into the NFL we go, as we got some games to talk about for Thursday. Typically we have one Thursday game to talk about, Brett, but it is Thanksgiving. So we should have 3 games to talk about. But
You
we
would
don't.
think. You would think.
The Ravens on Monday had Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins test positive for coronavirus, so they shut their facility down, which already would have made it extremely difficult on a short week being able to be prepared for Thursday. After the facility was also shut down on Tuesday, on Wednesday they decided to push that game back to Sunday. So there is a line out for that game. I'm still not entirely sure how that's going to all go down, but we have Houston Texans versus the Detroit Lions and the Washington football team at the Dallas Cowboys. So two Texas teams are going to be playing in different games on Thursday, and you know what? I think both of them are going to win, Brett. I'm doing a Thanksgiving Turkey Day parlay, and it's going to be Texans and Cowboys money line plus 168. And if it just comes down to the history of things, Detroit plays on Thanksgiving every year. They have about a 40% win rate. The Cowboys, they play every single year on Thanksgiving. They have about a 60% win rate. So just going with the numbers here of how it typically goes on Thanksgiving, what we're used to seeing before we go sit down for some turkey.
Well, Higgins, I can't get fully on board with the Texans. I just don't have as good of a read as you on that game, I guess. But I can get on the Dallas train, and I'm going actually minus 2.5 Cowboys on that one.
Okay.
Honestly, and I'm more of a Daniel Jones believer than you are, but today I think Andy Dalton might be the best quarterback in that division. Today.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how I feel in 3 weeks. We'll see how I feel in 4 weeks, but
We'll see how you feel on Friday.
we'll see how I feel on Friday. It changes like that, but today, Thursday morning, I think Andy Dalton might be the best quarterback in that division. And that's based on week 11, and only week 11, and nothing else.
Well, good thing this isn't Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I'm not going to make you lock in your answer right now. You have time to change it as the wind blows, because that's the way the NFC East has been working. But we'll see. It'll be very interesting to see how that Washington versus Dallas game goes, because that game has way more playoff implications than it should for two teams at the bottom of their division that are 3-7. The NFC East makes no sense. I've stopped trying to have it make sense. I've stopped even trying to have hope in the Giants of potentially winning the division, because even if they do, it's gonna be odd. It's really weird. I I don't really have a read on that Texans game in terms of the spread or anything like that. It was more betting against the Lions than betting for the Texans, because Houston's been so dysfunctional this year. Uh, that Dallas game, though, I do think Dallas is better than Washington in this game. Both teams have had the quarterback troubles, so they're kind of even on that playing field. And Andy Dalton, I think he's going to get himself this this Turkey Day win. Now, Brett, like I said, we typically do get 3 games on Thursday. Do you remember the last time there were only 2 games?
Well, I know it was before they started Thursday Night Football.
Yes, it was. 2005.
2005. Okay, I farther back than I thought, but like I would have guessed like '08. I don't know. Like I would have been off, but not that off.
So the Falcons blew out the Detroit Lions 27-7, and the Broncos beat the Cowboys in overtime 24-21.
Yeah,
I'd be happy with an overtime game this Thanksgiving.
I mean, honestly, Higgins, it's just like old times. It's not the end of the world, but sticking in the NFC East, I love your Giants, Higgins, and I've been telling everyone they're the best against the spread. They just kill teams against the spread. Cincinnati's starting some guy named Brandon Allen, who I think the Broncos may have started for a week or two last year. And I'm all in on the Giants -5.5 because, like I said, Daniel Jones might be the best quarterback in the NFC East. That's what I said, right? Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz, he might be the
Yeah.
best. Yeah, exactly.
Now, I was tempted at this Giants line too because with Joe Burrow out, I'm really not hopeful in how this Bengals team is going to respond with the rest of their season. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if they lose out and end up with like a 2-14, maybe 3-15 record. But at the same time, that unknown, that lack of film tape that you might have, the uncertainty of what they might come out and do differently without Burrow in the pocket is keeping me off because the Giants, they're 7-3 against the spread. You're right, but most of those 7 wins are when they have been underdogs. They have not
Yeah,
been. They
but
have
I
not been
got
the
burned
favorite
by
much this
that
season.
logic, Higgins. I said they were going to lose to the Eagles, and they did not lose to the Eagles. So, it's. I think the Giants have just honestly been improving as the season's gone along. I don't you think that?
I do think they have been improving. The Giants have only been favorites in 1 game this season, though, and it was their 1 point win to the Washington. They were two
Ah,
point favorites.
well, I
I
mean,
think you picked them in that game too, Brett.
I
I think you
did.
did.
I love the Giants. I mean, they fight so hard. They're the team that you want to bet on because they're fighting till the end. And I
They're the New York team you wish you liked.
well,
No?
when we have Trevor next year, I don't know. I don't know. We'll have the shiny new toy, Higgins.
We'll see if that ends up happening now. Jumping out of the NFC East, though, Brett, another team that has just had an abysmal season, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, they're hosting Cleveland. Cleveland gets to migrate south for the weekend, and I'm sure they will be very happy about being able to escape the Cleveland weather on Lake Erie in late November right now. I I really don't think the Jaguars are going to be able to put up much of a fight. I mean, they got their first and only win in their opening game of the season, and they've lost every other game since then.
No, and similar to what I just said about Brandon Allen starting for the the
Mm-hmm.
Bengals this week. Mike Glennon is starting for the Jaguars this week. Higgins, and
So
I
Jake
think
Luton was not the answer.
no, he was not. His 4 interceptions last week sent him right back to the bench, and Mike Glennon gets his shot at the Cleveland Browns this week. And honestly, Cleveland's running backs are going to have a field day. You mentioned Cleveland's excited to get off Lake Erie. I think no one is more excited than anyone that owns anyone in Cleveland's offense for their fantasy team that might actually be able to use them for the first time in 3 weeks. Lucky for me, I guess I had Nick Chubb. He was like the only one getting touches, like 27 touches a game because the weather was so bad. But I'm with you. I think that's the right side to be on, Higgins. Cleveland -6.5. I'm not betting on Mike Glennon to do anything.
Well, thank you for not joining me on that bet as well, because this Raiders Falcons game, you and I see rather similarly on this. I mean, I was impressed by the Raiders team that I saw against the Chiefs the other night. I thought that the Chiefs were going to come out with a lot more force and vengeance in trying to kind of make a statement after losing earlier in the season to the Raiders in Arrowhead Stadium. And Derek Carr played really well. That Raiders team overall played really well. Defense impressed me. And I really don't understand where this 3 points, only 3 point line is coming from. I think the Raiders should be favored by more. That's why I'm going to be on Raiders -3.
Well, I don't necessarily know if I think the Raiders should be bigger favorites. I think the line's about right, but I get what you're saying. I'm a little concerned about the East to West travel and the big division game a week ago. Is this a little bit of a letdown? But I just don't trust Atlanta. And like you said, Las Vegas has really been an impressive team, not just last week, but all year, Higgins, in my opinion. And that's why I'm on them here. And yeah, I had to hop on because, surprise, this is going to be my lock.
A little bit of an early hint. And hey, good news for if you're going to be on the Raiders with us. They have covered their last 4 games, 5 of their past 6. So the Raiders have been playing some really good football lately. Meanwhile, the Falcons did not cover last week, covered 2 weeks before that, and so they're 2-2 over their past 4 weeks. Not quite as strong as the Raiders against the spread. Raiders are 6-3 to match their 6-3 record.
Yeah, they've just, I mean, they've been really impressive. Like, people question the
Seven
Gruden
and three to
move.
match their 6-4 record. Excuse me.
Yeah, they've just been good, man. People question the Gruden move, and it looks like it might have been the right move.
I think it has been. I think it has been. Another uh, what is being looked at was it the right move? Was Ryan Fitzpatrick coming in to finish the game for the Dolphins last week? Now they said Tua's going to still start, and that didn't change anything, but it was very interesting. But to be honest, Tua, Fitzmagic, I don't really care. I think they're going to cover with a 7 point spread either way against the Jets. The Jets have really not played bad. They're having a historically bad season. The Dolphins, they've been playing pretty well. They have something to play for. And if they want to catch up with the Bills and potentially grab this AFC East this year, they have to keep winning and hope that Buffalo potentially loses one.
Yeah, I mean, Miami is in the thick of it. I think what they did last week was they went for the win. I don't think, I hope Tua didn't take it too personally. I think he kind of understood what was happening. I mean, it doesn't seem like he came out due to injury, but he was getting beat up in that game. So maybe it was a little precautionary as well, but I'm with you, Higgins. I would definitely be on the side of Miami in this one. What scares me is Joe Flacco looks really good in these football games until the fourth quarter, and then he looks like Joe Flacco again. So I hope seven's not too big of a number, but Miami's going to win the game. The Jets we're an O for team.
Yeah, we'll see how that game goes. I think the Dolphins will get the win though. What about the Bills up north at home hosting the Chargers and Justin Herbert?
Well, yeah, you mentioned the Bills and the Dolphins kind of fighting it out here, and the Dolphins get the Jets this week, so the Bills really can't slip up against the Chargers. And Justin Herbert, because of the Joe Burrow injury, is now the odds-on favorite to be the Rookie of the Year, and he's
Absolutely.
been really impressive. I expect LA's offense to move the ball a lot against the Bills, but I expect the Bills to have equal success moving the ball. This could be an over game for me at 52 and a half as well, Higgins. I could just see points galore here. But right now, I'm just on Buffalo -5.5 because I don't think the Chargers have covered yet. I know they probably have covered a game this year, but does it really feel like that?
No, it really hasn't. It really hasn't felt like that. The Chargers keep on blowing these wins. They keep
Oh my
blowing
god.
the spread. It's been really sad to see because the team plays so good for not just 3 quarters, but about 3.5 quarters, and then it's that last 750 on the clock that just the wheels fall off the bus. It gets ugly very, very quickly. Now, an interesting thing that I've been seeing more and more about with the Chargers is Eckler, who has been rehabbing. It seems like he is about healthy and ready to go. I didn't notice if he played last week for them, but is he back?
So he did not play last week. I would expect him to be back this week. Um, I don't know if that means 100% though. So we'll see what happens. I think Balaj has been decent for the Chargers in his time there. So maybe they split. Maybe Eckler gets involved. But again, the Chargers have just been heartbreak central every you can't bet on the Chargers. You cannot take your money, go up to a window and be like, "Give me the Chargers," and walk away and be like, "That's a good bet." There's
Yeah.
just no way. There's just no way after watching them this year.
By the way, Eckler did practice on Wednesday, so
Yeah,
assumptions are that he is back.
I think he's gonna
He's
go.
and for those that may not remember the injury, he tore his hamstring to the point that he said he could only walk backwards.
Hmm.
That
I did not
that's scary.
hear that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
One last game that I am going to be on though, Brett, is this Chiefs versus Bucks game. Now, you already know my feelings about Tom Brady, and I was, to be honest, hoping that he'd prove me wrong down in Tampa Bay. And while Tampa Bay's had some good games, he's been a rather sore loser, and he hasn't bounced back from these losses necessarily. So I don't expect, after what the fact that he wouldn't shake the hand last week, I don't think that he's going to come back particularly strong this week against the defending champs. Pat Mahomes is going to continue with this surgical season that he's been having. He's just been playing phenomenally lights out. And Kansas City -3. This spread in Oregon right now, Brett, is about to change. It's -3 at -132. Tampa Bay is +3 at +112. I'm just going to take that before it moves because who knows how much this line might move by Sunday. And I'm going to get KC -3 while I still can, even with the odds being a little worse.
All right, there you go. KC -3 for Higgins. Yeah, I think Tom Brady. So since Antonio Brown has signed with the Bucks, the Pats are 1-2, and it just feels like
You mean the
when.
Bucks are 1-2?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just called them the
You,
Patriots. Ay, ay, ay. What
it's
an
force of
idiot.
habit. Force of
I,
habit.
my bad. But yeah, so the Bucks are 1-2 since signing AB, and I don't know about you, Higgins, but it feels like when they were having success, like I'm trying to remember the guy, Minnesota, Tyler Johnson. Like Tyler Johnson was catching these. He wasn't the focal point of the offense. Now they've got AB as the focal point of the offense. They had Gronkowski rolling right before they signed him. They're trying to keep him involved. They're trying to keep Evans and Godwin involved. Now they're battling through some injuries this year. Tom always had that James White guy who would catch passes out of the backfield. We've seen Jones and Leonard Fournette drop balls out of the backfield. It just it just feels like everything has been off these last 3 games, and for that I get why you're 100% on the KC side. But they have so many weapons. I'm nervous when it all clicks. I'm just going to be on the wrong side of it. And I don't want to be on the wrong side of it. I don't think it's this week against KC. I think you're safe at -3 with KC, but I'm not ready to hop on. And maybe I'm protecting it. Maybe I'm
Hey,
just saving you.
that's a great point, though. At some point, there are enough assets on that offense that if it clicks, it'll get very dangerous. But
Yeah, I
it,
mean
it
there was
has
some
been
offensive.
misfiring so far.
There was some offensive line shuffling of recent weeks, also. So hopefully the offensive line gets consistent, the players get consistent, everything improves.
Absolutely. Well, Before we get out of here, let's talk about something else that's going on Friday, real quick here, Brett. The match part three. Now, part one was just Tiger versus Phil for charity. It was a fantastic event that went into sudden death, and then we had uh, Peyton and Tom Brady join in on the fun. So it was a quads match for charity. Also, I believe went to a sudden death match or something. Or no, that was the other charity match that they did. Never mind. But part three does not include Tiger Woods this time. It is Phil Mickelson and Charles Barkley versus Peyton Manning and Steph Curry. Now, before we raise us too much of a flag, Steph Curry has played professional golf before on the Web.com tour, not on the PGA tour, but he is a very good golfer. So
Yeah.
that's why they're the favorites, I think. I mean, Peyton's under 10. Steph's about a scratch golfer. They're minus 165. And Phil is going to have a lot of slack to pick up being handicapped with Charles Barkley on his team.
I, I gotta be honest, Higgins. When you told me that Peyton Manning was playing for Tiger Woods, I was very confused. But I guess this is what we're going with. And to your point, Steph is much closer to a professional golfer than Charles or Peyton. And Peyton is much closer to Steph than Charles is closer to Steph. So I think that pairing is more likely to be consistent. But if Phil hits a bad shot on a hole, that Charles team is in some trouble.
Yes. Now, like last time, there's going to be live bets, live alterations to everything. So I'm not going to bet on this before the match starts, but I did learn last time how fun and interactive they make this betting it live. So I'm not working on Friday. I'll probably be tuned into this golf match, at least while watching some football or basketball. And I might be throwing some live bets down, and if I do, I'll post those on our social media pages in case anyone's interested in them as well. But it should definitely be entertaining, and part of me hopes Tiger runs out of the tunnel at some point for a celeb shot.
That would be great. He just comes out of the halfway house on 9.
Well, so I'm thinking of the Bill Murray Space Jam, ba 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 ba,
There we
and
go.
there's going to be no fans, so he could actually do
Dude,
that, and you'd hear it.
it would just suck if they're on the putting green and he has to run all the way from the tee box. That would be a long, like he'd have to save it for a par 3 or something where it's a little bit shorter.
Yes. Okay, let's go into our Levy locks and pick of the pots, though, Brett. Neither of us got a win because of that Tampa loss that happened on Monday night, but I'm going to let you go first because I lost on that game twice, and you only lost on it once.
Yeah, well, that game, well, go KC Higgins, go Kansas City. But I'm gonna be on Vegas. I hinted at it earlier. I kind of gave
Hinted
you a
on it, you
wink.
said
I
it.
said wink, wink. Here it is, surprise. So here we go. Vegas -3. Like you said, they've been impressive all year. I think they're competing for some home games in the postseason, hopefully, and maybe the Chiefs slip up. They would need Tampa Bay to win this week to keep their hopes alive for the AFC West. But either way, I like Vegas -3. I just think they're playing hungry.
And I am going to the well for the Cleveland -6.5 spread over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Brett, you said that you were a little uneasy about the unknowns about Mike Glennon. I'm not too concerned about it, but I mean, that is something to be aware of. I think Cleveland, though, getting to travel down to Florida late November, it's going to be a great game. They're going to be very happy to have some good weather to play with, and I think that offense is going to really, really run well on Sunday. So I don't think a touchdown spread is going to be too hard against a team that's 1-9 so far this season.
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely not worried about Glennon. Don't worry, Higgins. No concerns here about Mike Glennon. You're in the clear on that one, I think.
All right. Well, one last time, make sure to follow us on our social media to get our day of picks and some live bets as well. At MBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. Let us know what picks you have for Thanksgiving. Let us know what picks you like over the weekend. Tweet at us, hit us up on Instagram, DMs anywhere. This has been episode 96 of the Next Best Bet. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you again after the weekend.